Now it's recording.
So what we have to say now?
Now we sit here in silence. Silent retreat.
Ah, see.
And people who are watching it can watch us in silence. Now I remember what we did with the light. We always used to pull the light out.
Yeah, there's too much light outside because we are already in summer.
Yeah, last time we recorded it was winter.
It was stove on, it was cold here, and now we are sweating.
Yeah.
La gota gorda.
See?
Sabe que es la gota gorda?
The fat sweat drop.
Drop. La gota gorda.
See? See?
Okay.
We start to read.
Sí.
Today may be the last one. We might finish today. Well, we'll see. So where did we finish last? We finished with you took the exam in order to start studying at the Institute of Hypnosis Motivation Institute, yes, in the US. And you didn't have to do the test because you asked the lady a question if they had ever tried to take a person who's in a coma into a deeper state and then order them to return to a normal state. And so she found out that you had a gift, or that were her words, and she said, well, you passed. And so you started studying hypnosis.
See.
Okay. In the beginning, several people came to us to see how hypnosis worked and whether I was capable of it. Martin was one of the first to agree to an experiment. I put him in a trance and asked him to open his eyes, get up from the chair, and lie down on the sofa. It took him a while to react, and finally he ran to the sofa with his arms and shoulders slumped like a zombie. There he didn't know what to do, and I had to tell him to sit and lie down. After I had counted Martin out of that state, one of the people present asked him, "Martin, what was that like? How does it feel to be in trance?" Martin said he felt absolutely nothing special. I felt completely normal as always. I just did what the Baba told me. The visitor looked at him seriously. "You walked around here like you were a zombie. How can you claim to have been completely normal?" Martin replied, "I was completely normal."
Nicht. I was normal.
You have to say it with a German accent? I don't know how to do that.
No, but with Martin accent.
Okay.
Be very strong person. You see, that is, you know that, no? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Putting people into trance, and you see them and they are completely out.
Mm-hmm.
And they later say, no, nothing. That
Yeah.
was all. I didn't feel anything special.
At the same time, it is nothing special because it's completely natural and normal. In some way it isn't special, but it feels different. This is our conscious mind, the ego, which under no circumstances wants to allow us to make contact with our subconscious mind. It fears losing its role as the boss of this being that we believe we are. In the next hypnosis session with Martin, we did a past life regression. I always say, if you should have had a previous life, since no one knows whether there is such a thing as reincarnation or a previous life, and with these words we leave everything open. In his visions, Martin came to an oasis in the desert. He described the palm trees, dunes, springs, and a kind of lake. There were camels and donkeys there. He himself was 70 years old, had black skin, and had come to this oasis from further south. All of this took place in the 16th century in the Sahara. And there was a woman named Fatima. Martin spent his time making leather items and was an advisor to residents. Whenever possible, he went looking for firewood with Fatima, and a close relationship developed between the two. When I brought Martin back from hypnosis, he opened his eyes, looked around the room and said, "Baba, you really have a beautiful house. But where I come from, everything was much more real than life here. Maybe he experienced feelings there that he is afraid of here. The completely different reactions to his 2 sessions were astonishing.
See.
My daughter Marta also allowed me to hypnotize her. It worked. Part of introducing hypnosis is to suggest to the subconscious to raise your arm. When she came out of hypnosis, she said, "You're my father," and I had decided not to lift my arm. But then the arm suddenly went up without me doing anything. It was too much. I couldn't believe it. Since Marta often suffered from great pain when she had her period, I offered to help her. Once in a trance, I brought her to a beach in her vision. There she found an empty glass bottle. She picked up the bottle, uncorked it, and held the bottle in front of her abdomen. Now I asked her to imagine all the pain flowing from her body into the bottle. Then she capped the bottle again and threw it as far as she could into the sea, watching as the ocean current carried the bottle further and further away. I brought her out of hypnosis and left the room. 10 minutes later, she came down the stairs to our swimming pool, laughing, picked up her fiancé and drove with him to Granada. In the evening, when she returned, I asked her about her pain, and Marta couldn't even remember it.
Because the fiancé, he asked, "We go to Granada today?" And she said, no, I have too much pain, I cannot. No? And then I left her here, and then suddenly she came down and said, "Mom, we go?" No, simply gone.
No memory of it. My teacher, from whom I had learned the regression process, recounted the following experience during one of her hypnosis treatments. A white woman transformed herself into a black man during the session. Well, that's normal. But what was not normal was that the skin of this woman on my armchair gradually turned black. Only when I started to count her up again out of the hypnosis, her skin turned white again. That's crazy.
You believe that?
I haven't experienced it yet, but I believe her.
I once saw, it was a man, and he was talking about a white horse, and his whole head and the face became the head of a white horse.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if I saw it like that, or if that really happens. Or I don't know.
Yeah, we don't
she
know.
will not know.
Yeah.
No,
I believe that this is what she perceived.
No, but she saw it like that. No?
If a video recording would show that, I don't know. Volunteers from all over the world come to our guest house to help us for a few hours a day. I offer them the hypnosis session for free. Carmen, a young woman from Argentina, wanted to experience the memories of a possible previous life. I had changed the name of these sessions from regressions to soul diving, because in reality you don't know who these memories belong to. They could be someone else's past life or have nothing to do with the previous life at all. Carmen described to me a life in Canada where she supposedly lived hundreds of years ago in the company of an Indian. We later contacted her spirit guide. This figure appears through the subconscious mind, and this guide was also an old Indian. I asked Carmen to ask her guide how many times she had lived a life on Earth. The answer was, this is her first life here. I asked how that was possible since Carmen had just described to me a previous life in Canada. No, that wasn't a previous life. These were some visuals that we showed her so that she could learn something about her current life, was the answer. Then I suggested that Carmen ask her guide how she could get in touch with him again later, and on her own. All you have to do is think of me and the contact is made, he replied. At that moment, I became a little annoyed and said directly to the guide, we live an incredibly difficult life here. She won't know how to reconnect. Please give her precise instructions. I had never spoken to my master or any other spiritual being in this way. I had learned over the years to show respect. But I felt sorry for the girl, and so the words came out unintentionally. I looked at Carmen. Her face suddenly changed into the face of an old Indian. I moved my chair back a little.
It was the same, like with a horse. And I said, oh shit.
Oh shit, what did I do?
The Indian will come out now.
I moved my chair back a little, afraid that the Indian would appear and ask me who I was and how I allowed myself to talk to him like that. But her face immediately returned to normal and her guide replied, "All right, I'll do that." And then he told Carmen to look at his old wrinkled hands. "The image of my hands will always be with you. If you seek contact with me, rub your palms together and then hold them in front of your eyes to feel their warmth. Repeat this until the image of my wrinkled hands appears before your eyes. Whatever then happens is my message for you."
Beautiful, no?
See?
And very precise. So sometimes you have to push them a little bit.
If you have the courage.
We learned that.
You, yes, I was referring to myself. Still learning. Carmen had told me about her mother who was suffering from cancer. During the same hypnosis session, Carmen later met a young girl who claimed to be her mother. I confirmed to Carmen that this girl was her mother's soul and advised her to ask the mother's soul what the mother should do to get healed. And Carmen received very specific instructions for her mother. The mother was supposed to change her attitude towards life, and Carmen was explained how the mother could do this. All too often, illness is a call from the subconscious to suggest that we should change something in our lives. But because we are too focused on rational thinking, we fail to notice the call of the soul. See?
I think they said to her she should make a cake. And they told her even what kind of cake and how to make it for the other daughter or something like that. She maybe got cross with that daughter and said, you have to change your attitude toward that daughter and then the cancer will go.
Months after that session, I received an email from Carmen thanking me again and saying everything was fine. She wrote, "Thomas, your picture is taped under my eyelids. Whenever I close my eyes, you are there." That's beautiful, yeah.
Beautiful, yes.
Anyone can be hypnotized. But with a person who consciously says no, it's not possible. You need the person's permission. The only person I couldn't hypnotize was my companion's 11-year-old son. I tried all the tricks I had learned. Nevertheless, he started to laugh and said, "I don't think that's working. My mind tells me, don't do that." So it was impossible. A few days later, the boy heard us talking about regressions. "I'd like to try that sometime," he remarked. One morning, I learned a very quick way to put someone into hypnosis and commented on it with Mara, the child's mother. When the boy came home in the afternoon, his mother called him over. She herself used the newly learned method, and in a moment, the boy was in a trance. Then I took over and led him to a so-called previous life. He began to say, "I have big, hairy feet, a long beard and long hair, completely gray. I'm very old, and I wear some kind of jacket made of fur. My 4-year-old daughter is with me, and we are using a spear to hunt a young cow that doesn't yet have horns." He seemed to be in the Stone Age. When I asked about his age, he replied, "I'm very old, about 30 years. We laughed at first, but that was old age in those days. Then he described the cave in which they lived. I asked if there were other people who lived nearby. He explained that there was a settlement about 42 kilometers away. This boy was incapable of giving such a long and fluent description in his normal state. However, while in trance, he spoke quickly and without interruption. Over the next few days, when I told someone about his trip and said, for example, that he had a 5-year-old daughter, he would correct me and say, "No, she was 4 years old." We bought a used car. Martin, the sellers, and I were in the office of an agent who was drawing up the purchase contract. All that was missing was to print the contract when the computer suddenly stopped working. The agent explained that he had taken this device in for repair a few days ago. The computer, a fairly expensive model, worked perfectly again after the repair. But now it was on strike. The copy of the contract we needed to sign was not printed. There was nothing to be done. The agent asked us to return another day to complete the purchase agreement. I was sitting in front of the desk and the screen was right in front of me. I said, "Don't you know that even these electronic devices need a little love every now and then?" And stroked the screen. At the same moment, the printer started and we were able to sign the contract. The devices need a bit of love and we need to learn to be idiots. No? Idiots in the eyes of other people.
And to give love, to have that respect for everything. Not to, if I see people writing on the computer or whatever, no, and to do that like that, no? No. Even that thing deserves respect. No, do it subtly. You don't have to do that. No, don't. No.
Don't have to hammer.
Huh?
Yeah, I stroke my laptop once in a while. I said, good. Before I gave a session to an American volunteer, we chatted. She told me that she had been adopted. When did they adopt you? I asked. At 3 days old was her answer. She had never known her mother. Since I didn't dare offer to see her mother because I was afraid it wouldn't work, I asked her, "Would you like to feel your mother for once?" She was delighted. I had her return to her mother's womb in trance and asked her, "Can you hear your mother's heartbeat?" "Yes," she replied. "What are you doing right now?" "I'm lying on my left side, I don't have any hands yet, and I'm playing with the umbilical cord. When I look to the right, all I see is light." She later met the mother in her visions and they agreed to meet soon in this life. Every now and then someone describes the life of an animal or of a tree. A young woman said she was a dog.
When that girl left from here,
The one with the
when she
adopted.
said, "When I turn to the right, there's only light." It was a nice girl, and so I said to her when she left, I said, "The light you are carrying with you is the light you have seen, and it's from your mother." Just
Beautiful.
to encourage her to make that meeting with her mother and to be nice and friendly.
So every now and then someone describes the life of an animal. A young woman said she was a dog. I smiled and asked her to tell me about the dog's life. She began, "I walk around sniffing all day and everything smells good. I'm also looking for something to eat, but not because I'm hungry, but because I want my owner to give me something to eat. It makes me happy to get food from his hand. We live in a house and I have some kind of bed in the living room. There's also a television there, but for me that just means a lot of noise. Now I'm old, have completely grey fur, and I'm taking a walk with my human friend. And I really enjoy the warm and loving looks he gives me." Yeah, flux. Another time a patient told me about his fear of heights. In his last life, he became a bird that lived on cliffs next to the sea. He enjoyed flying, and his fear disappeared. Rosanna also agreed to undertake a regression. She landed on
I don't tell the story about my dogs.
I feel like it already came at some other point.
Maybe.
But you want to retell anyway?
No.
From the point in time that you heard that the dog likes to receive food from the hand, something changed with your dogs. At that time you had two little tackle
To tackle.
or something
And
like
they
that.
were, every day I would put the food to them and they would eat. Pom, pom. Normal. And from that moment on, I made that session and I heard that. They only started to eat their food if I would give them with my hands before a tiny little piece of sausage.
No,
How is that possible? Yeah, but it's possible.
but it's possible. Rosanna also agreed to undertake a regression. She landed on a spaceship, which surprised me a lot because I thought I was going back in time with her. But apparently there is neither time nor place there.
Or maybe there were other times where already spaceships were
You were
flying
considering spaceships would be
Claro,
the future.
I said we go to a past life, so we go to the Indians or we go to Middle Ages or whatever. No? And she said, oh no, there's a spaceship. I said, that's a future life, no? But maybe that was a very past life, no? Just,
Or just some visions as we instruct, no? The past life with a meaning for her current life, and they just give some visuals. She described the spaceship as similar to an airplane, with rows of seats and windows. You could see a few planets passing by outside the windows. At the end of the room, there were some beings who, according to Rosanna, were busy monitoring something. I asked her to approach these beings and ask them if she could speak to them. Rosanna began to ask one of them a few questions, and then remarked, something very strange is happening. His mind and mine merge, and we are now just one person. The creature appeared to be the commander. When I asked what they were doing there, he replied, we are helping you on Earth and the inhabitants of another planet. You can contact us anytime. To do this, you have to leave the door open, practice, and be free from your own thoughts. I wanted to know from him whether they, like us,
look, that's very interesting because he said your own thoughts. He did not say your thoughts. He said your own thoughts, your conscious thoughts. They have to disappear. Because what people are looking for this state to be without thoughts, that's not true. You're always thinking. But it can come from here or from here. So he said that you have to calm down or to stop.
I wanted to know from him whether they, like us, had a concept of a God. Yes, he said, but we don't call it God. We call it the law. I liked this name because it was colorless. No one could claim it as their own. And no one could claim it as merciful or something like that.
The law.
No, it's the law.
Whatever it is.
You're very relaxed, no? Farty? As I began to return Rosanna to her normal state, I said to her, this being that you just spoke to will from now on always be with you, like pinned to your body, and it will help you live a better life. Rosanna had started studying on the Canary Islands. The following day she began the journey to the islands in her small old car. That same evening she called me and said the following. I'm driving on the highway and suddenly I hear a very loud noise. Finally I stop and notice that I'm missing a wheel on my car. I still can't understand how anyone can drive a car with a wheel missing. But those were her words. Right in front of my car there is another vehicle on the side of the highway, and a young, good-looking and good-smelling man is standing there leaning against his car. The man comes up to me and asks if he can help me. After Rosanna explained to him that a wheel was missing from the car, the man said, yes, the wheel is there on the highway. Just a moment, I'll get it. He brought the missing wheel and helped her put it back on the car. He then asked her to stop at the nearest gas station and buy a new wheel because she couldn't continue driving like this. Rosanna asked him why he had stopped, and the man replied, I was driving behind you and suddenly all the cars slowed down a little. I saw your worried face and thought that maybe I could help you. They said goodbye and Rosanna stopped at the nearest gas station. There she bought 2 new wheels for her car. In Spain, there are usually no repair shops at petrol stations, and so you usually cannot buy wheels there.
And how he could see her worried face if other cars were driving in between her car and his car.
And he was, behind.
Yeah.
The next day she called again. Now Rosanna was on her ship to the islands in the middle of the ocean. She said, I was sitting by the ship's swimming pool and had the idea of having a drink, maybe a coffee, and since I also felt hungry, I thought maybe I would eat a donut. So I got up and went to the restaurant. A man came up to me and greeted me. "Hello. I was just wondering if I could invite you over for a drink. How about a cup of coffee and maybe a donut?" She was invited and soon reached the island. Rosanna was always very concerned about her livelihood and her money, and so she took a package of small perfume bottles from us to sell on the island. We sell these products online. A few weeks later, she called again. "Thomas, hear what happened now. Yesterday I was selling on the street and a young black man from Africa bought a perfume from me. Today the man returned and asked, 'Can I talk to you for a moment?' 'Yes, of course,' I replied. 'You are a strange person. A being is at your side who recently got attached to you and will now be with you for the rest of your life to help you have a better life. I just came here to confirm this to you. Where I was born, we learned to see these things as children.'" It gives me goosebumps even now. I don't know how often I've read this or heard this, but it still gives me goosebumps. You say, he will be attached to you, you will have a better life.
I mean, just the same words as I used.
Yeah.
No, and when I said that, it's not that I was seeing something, that I was hearing something, a voice telling me this. It just came up, that thought, and I brought it out. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, because if it's the conscious mind would be like, is that a good idea? Attaching a being? Should we not first ask that being, what if it's not going to be good? But what? Oh, but that's clearly...
Very nice. Yes. Good conscious mind.
Good conscious mind is working well.
Yeah.
Rosanna studied tourism. The exams are so difficult that half of the students give up before the exams. Rosanna,
the studies are already so difficult that they give up.
Rosanna asked me to help her using hypnosis, which I did twice over the phone. She also asked me if it would be possible to help 4 of her friends pass the exams. A long time ago, when she was still studying in Italy, I had helped her pass her exams with honors. So I asked her to give a copy of the photograph that I would send to her fellow students. The photo showed Yogananda with his master. In his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, he describes how he passed his exams without even attending class. Since the same thing had happened to me when I was young, I firmly believed in the story. And so far, everyone I have given this photograph to for an exam passed. The last one was Marina and her driving license, no?
An impossible case.
So Rosanna distributed the photos and she and her 4 friends received their diplomas. Wow. Out of so many who don't even try or fail.
But Rosanna, well, she came back from Canary Islands. She was working here in Alhambra Palace as a tourist guide. She earned every day, I don't know, between 200 and 500 euros, a lot of money. She was able, after a short time, to buy a house in one of the most expensive parts of Granada. So everything was fine, and then one day she came here and she was renting her part of her flat to, she was always concerned about money, to someone, not to share the cost. And she rented that flat to a woman from Venezuela. And she came and said, "Look, this person is a medium and she is helping people and blah, blah, blah. Look, that is her website." I said, "I don't even want to see that. And I tell you, don't do it." But she did. And her life is absolutely ruined. Absolutely ruined.
Yeah.
So for all of you, take care with these things. Take care. As Sidi Mohammed said about someone in Morocco, said, not everyone who's going to the river is a frog. Because there was also a fake guy. And he said, that guy, he is not what he pretends to be, But of course in her case, she should have known better. She should have done what I told her. But now if that happens to you and you don't have anyone who can give you advice, then you don't know, because that other person can be very friendly and very making like that, and you will fall into the trap.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. What do they say? The devil is not stupid. Does
No,
not show up
he
with
will not
horns and
come
hooves,
with
looking
a
scary and
half leg
ugly.
and like that. No. Go.
After Rosanna returned to Granada, she began working as a tourist guide at the Alhambra Palace.
You see.
She still earns her money there today, and it was enough to buy 2 smaller houses in one of the most expensive districts of Granada. You need to remember you wrote this book in 2017, no?
Yeah.
In Albaicin. This is the former historic Moorish quarter of the city. A guest at our guest house, a young woman from Hong Kong, came to Scotland in her previous life. In the 16th century. She had never been interested in this part of the world before. The next day we checked the internet for the information she had talked about in her session, and everything was true. She was describing a lake and a place,
there's
the
some
name.
water. Is there some water? Yeah, there's a lake, but they don't call it lake, they call it loch. I don't remember the name. And she became a man in her past life. And what is your name? John. And what is the name of the place, the village? Aberdeen. It's a small village. Well, Aberdeen is now a city
Not a small
with
village.
1 million inhabitants or more. And then I looked, and in the 16th century it was a small village. There was this loch, whatever the name she gave next to it. And then I said, but the name John, no way, no. And then I read the name John came to Scotland in the 16th century.
Wow.
Okay.
Another young woman in a trance state asked her spirit guide for the name of the place he had taken her to. An incredibly beautiful mountain region. She got the name, and the next day when she looked on the internet to see if that name existed and what meaning it may have, a picture appeared of the place in the mountains where she had been with her guide. I remember my first hypnosis, or whatever, the past life regression soul diving session with you. And I remember you asked me, "Where are you?" And I said, "Constantinople." "No, Istanbul."
Istanbul.
In trance I had there was no way that it is the same place. But afterwards I remembered it was like, two sisters came to visit. Both were around 40 years old, from Malaysia, and were doctors by profession. They both lived and worked in London. I laughed and said to them, "You are really strange. Studied people talking to an illiterate person like me here." They disagreed and told me they were excited to hear my stories. One of the women wanted to try hypnosis. Before we started, we chatted for a while. She told the following story. "I work in a hospital in London. We had a young patient there who was in a wheelchair. We did everything we could to find out what his problem was so that we could help him. But we couldn't find anything unusual, and so we couldn't help him either. One day, while I was in my office, the door opened and the young man came in, sitting in his wheelchair. I felt sorry for him, but I had absolutely no idea what I should or could do. I looked at him and the following words came out of my mouth. "You'll see. At the end of January, you'll walk and come through this door." At the end of January, the man came through the door on his own 2 feet.
She
Wow.
made like that. You will see. She said it just came out. I was afraid. I didn't know what to say. We couldn't help. And said, "You will see at the end of January."
So it went
And he
into his
came in.
subconscious mind and is like, well, okay, we can make this happen.
Yeah, we can make that, no problem.
I confirmed to the doctor that she was one of those people who can break through the barrier between conscious and subconscious mind in other people, and was therefore able to suggest something to the subconscious that it could put into action without any difficulty. The next day, both sisters accompanied me to visit one of the healers I know here. When the healer saw the doctor who had helped the young man, he said, "Oh yes, you have a lot of intuition." For many people, the filter between the subconscious and conscious opens in a moment of need, when they want to help but don't know what to do, and suddenly instructions on how to help come from a deeper source.
Get rid of your own thoughts. But as we have difficulties with that, sometimes simply it happens. They freak you out, you're overwhelmed, you don't know, it kaput, tilt, it does not work any longer, does not know what to do, and then it comes out.
I have hypnotized many people, but no one has ever tried it with me. It only happened once during one of my online hypnosis classes. The teacher taught us how to lead a regression, and so that we could get a taste of such a session, she did a very short regression with the entire class. Normally, something like this takes 2 to 3 hours. Here, however, 15 minutes should be enough. I looked at my screen and said to myself, why not? Just give it a try. And just like the students present in the class in California, I went into a trance state. The teacher asked us to look at our feet. They were smaller and darker skinned. My clothes were simple and made of natural fabric. It turned out that I was a young North American Indian. I was in this body. Then she asked us to explore the surroundings. There was a teepee, white with black stripes. An old Indian sat in front of the teepee, and in front of him a young girl with whom he was talking. I realized in that moment that I was the young man and at the same time the old Indian, as if they wanted to show me who I would be later in my life. Before the teacher brought us out of hypnosis, she said, in the next few days or in the dreams of the following nights, you will receive more information about what you have seen. That same night, I received information that this Indian tribe was called Oglala, a name I had never heard before. The Oglala belonged to the Sioux. Is that the Sioux? Sioux? Sioux. In the morning, I looked online to see if there were any pictures of Oglala Indians. And there was the young Indian in whose body I had been. And the old man was there too. His name was Black Elk, a medicine man of the Oglala tribe. Now I tried to get information about Black Elk. I found out that someone had written a book about him, so I bought that book. Back to the story when I was a boy and one of my cousins who lived with us played the violin. So we're going back to this life childhood. Every time I heard the sound of this instrument, I couldn't breathe and my skin turned blue-black. The cousin could no longer play his violin when I was at home. Neither I nor my parents nor the doctor ever found the reason for the strange occasions. In the book I had bought, Black Elk told the following story. When the white man attacked us and all seemed lost, when hardly any of our warriors could continue fighting, we signaled to the women and children with a flute made especially for those moments to tell them to hide in the forest or in the mountains. A flute that sounded exactly like a violin. Freaky.
Huh?
Freaky, no? It's like, okay, you experienced something in a past life, and it's the moment of fear, of terror, of potential death. No, and there's that association with that sound and that, and now you are like, that is a past life, supposed past life, we don't know, no? But you find this written in a book, not just in a hypnosis vision. And you as a child cannot stand the sound of the violin.
Yeah, because all of you believe that you have free will. That you are not aware that DNA exists and everything is written there already.
Whatever we experience, we see it with our eyes and give the events the meaning that comes to mind at that moment. This interpretation, however, is all too often far away from reality. One of our volunteers lost her father at a young age, and her mother left their home when she was only 15 years old. Her grandparents took over her upbringing. She was now 28 years old and had not seen her mother again. In trance, we asked her spirit guide to show her some moments of her life again, but through the eyes of the guide, from a new perspective. And so she saw again the moment when her mother left her for the last time. But this time the guide made her focus on her mother's eyes. Her eyes, the mother's eyes, expressed infinite love, and she was happy to be able to forgive her mother. While she was still here with us, her grandmother called and told her that her mother had called for the first time in 13 years and wanted to get in touch with her daughter. So she was ready to be in touch with her mother, and so then mother calls. Maybe.
No.
No.
We only know computer.
What did I
nothing
just
else.
read? Whatever we experience, give the events the meaning that comes to mind at that moment. Yes. I try to bring many of the young people who come to me closer to their parents again because they miss that connection. My daughter Raquel was 4 months pregnant and asked me to help her with the birth. So in trance, I gave her instructions for this wonderful moment in her life. I told her, as soon as the first contraction comes, you go into a light trance state. And when you're brought through the hospital doors, you go deeper. When you see the doctors and nurses, you know that they are the most trained experts for this moment in your life. Whatever they suggest to you, you will accept. You will feel the contractions like the waves from the sea going through your body and completely relaxing you. 2 days after the birth, I visited her and her newborn son at their home. When I asked her what happened during the birth, she replied, "There were many women who gave birth that night, but I was declared queen of the hospital. They said they had never experienced anything like this. I didn't see a doctor and wasn't given any medication. Only one nurse was with me. Her working hours were already over, but she wanted to witness this birth and so she stayed." Then I asked Raquel if she had felt pain, and she replied, "I felt it, but I wouldn't call it pain."
And now you remember? Next child, same daughter. I made the same session and we met her, I don't know, 1 month before giving birth. We went to a restaurant and I said to her, "You are completely out, no? You're out." And because she had already very light contractions, and then I learned you cannot say that. Because I said to her, when the first contraction will come, you will go into a light trance. And we were sitting there outside next to the river in a restaurant, and she was completely gone.
Yeah, she was in trance for a month or so.
For months.
Yeah. We finished the capital hypnosis, so we take a break now.
How much more?
There's another chapter called ayahuasca, and then I believe something called final words.
Yeah, we can make next time, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, goodbye.
One more to come.